Alright YouTube, so we are back of course to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, but before we hop into it, as usual, a couple smaller things. So for starters, oddly enough, I woke up today to the Butterfinger DLC item codes. Like, that was kind of strange that I just talked about this yesterday, how I have not received the codes in like 6 or 7 days or something like that, and I'll be damned if I didn't check my email today and they're there. Is it pure coincidence that I got my codes the day after complaining about it? Probably. From here, we have Jason Schreier from Kotaku going on a blocking spree of Final Fantasy VII Remake fans. I can't remember what he quote tweeted, but what he said in his tweet was something along the lines of complaining that it's not the full Final Fantasy VII story. It's, breaking it up into multiple games. And I'm assuming a bunch of the Remake fans probably replied to his tweet, talking shit to him or whatever the case. I personally told him to shut the hell up because it's just a narrative that's so old. We've known since 2015. We knew as soon as this game was revealed pretty much that it was going to be episodic release, multi-part release, whatever the term is you want to use. We knew it wasn't going to be one solid game. We knew there were going to be multiple games telling the Final Fantasy VII story. It's stupid at this point. Let's be honest. It's stupid to complain that it's not the full story. We've known it for like 5 years. It's just a conversation a lot of us are tired of having. Even now, every couple of videos I upload, there'll be one person that complains like, man, the game looks kind of cool, but I'm just upset that it's not the full Final Fantasy VII story. It's like, well, if you want the full FF7 story, you're going to have to wait who knows how many years. We don't even know how many games there's going to be. But a lot of us are pretty content with what we're getting. Also hopping back really quickly to the Butterfinger related items. I had somebody comment on my video saying they did 2 separate purchases, 2 candy bars, and then a separate purchase of 8, which would obviously be the full 10. And they actually got an email back from I guess, Butterfinger, Prize Logic, whoever it is, saying that there was no more codes available. I don't have confirmation of that, but that's just a comment that was left on one of my videos. On to the topic of the video, microtransactions and DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is actually a conversation I've wanted to have for a very long time. Back in the day, before we knew what this game was, being that it's Midgar only, I was really adamant about like a Crisis Core themed DLC, an Avid Children After Story DLC, things like that, which obviously we wouldn't get yet for either of those probably. I've seen a post over on Reddit asking about microtransactions, which was sort of the inspiration for this video, and part of that as well was the responses where people were speaking definitively about this. The responses were saying that the microtransactions for Final Fantasy VII Remake were going to be weapons and armor and cosmetic things and maybe weaker summons and things like that, which is an absolute possibility. And I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually sell the items that we're paying for now, like the quote-unquote exclusive summon DLCs and like these Butterfinger items, things like that. It's not going to be surprising to me if a couple of months down the road, a year down the road, they're trying to sell those items as well. My thing is, right now, we don't know for sure that there's even going to be microtransactions or DLC for the game. What are the odds that there will be? Probably pretty high, like 95% or something. They're trying to make as much money off this for sure as they possibly can. But we don't even know exactly what they're going to do. They could go full scumbag mode and actually sell us like story-based DLC. Like we talked about before, maybe a DLC where we play like a little bit of outside of Midgar, maybe up to like the Midgar Zalem or something like that. But something like that's going to piss off people. That's something that should be in the base game, right? That's a piece of story from the original Final Fantasy VII, and you're trying to sell that separately to us within the remake itself. That's a bit of a problem. They could do that though. And people need to brace themselves for that because it is an absolute possibility. I don't know that they would do that because they have to handle Final Fantasy VII Remake perfectly. If they're trying to scumbag and nickel and dime the community, they are going to tarnish the reputation that they can't possibly recover from. I don't want to be like up my own ass being a Final Fantasy VII like super fan, but this is like sacred territory here, man. You cannot mess this up. I've said in the past I'm fine with story-based DLC as long as it's new stuff. We know there's new probably areas, new characters, and things that the remake's going to have that the original didn't. I'm fine with that. There's also a possibility of free, which is something I've never really talked about, but going back to the Midgar Zalem after story stuff, like if they want to put out a little piece of story DLC for free for everybody, where you get to play a little part of the original game, after escaping Midgar, obviously everybody would be fine with that. It's putting things behind a paywall that should already be in the base game. That's the issue. As for the other microtransactions or DLC items like weapons and armors and cosmetics and summons, that stuff I don't really care about as long as it's not the best stuff. It cannot be pay to win. You can't have the strongest summons, the strongest armors behind a paywall. For example, you cannot sell Cloud's ultimate weapon as like a DLC item. Like that, you can't do that. It can't be the strongest weapons that you got to pay for. And to be honest, when it comes to anything like weapons or armor or summons, anything that does stat things or damage, they almost have to be like average at best or trash, because if they're actually good, there's going to be backlash. When it comes to the cosmetic items, these are just whatever because they're visual only. They should not give you any in-game bonuses. So this is, they can do as many of these as they want as long as they're not super, super high price. It's like whatever, dude. You don't have to buy them and they do nothing for you anyway. There's multiple outfits for pretty much the entire roster of characters, so they already have that to go off of, and they can do new outfits as well. And I've never been able to get past the idea of playing Final Fantasy VII Remake as Kingdom Hearts Cloud. I think about that more than I possibly should, and I would pay money for that. But as of right now, we have no idea what microtransactions or DLCs are going to look like for this game. I do think there's going to be story DLC in some capacity to kind of hold us over while we're waiting for part 2. But whether or not it's stuff that was from the original Final Fantasy VII story or brand new stuff, we just don't know, man. So I'll pass off to you guys, of course. What are your thoughts on this when it comes to microtransactions, DLCs? What do you think the future of FF7 Remake is going to look like a couple months down the road, half a year? Because they're going to be trying to sell something to us to keep this game relevant. And what I mean by relevant is people still talking about the game, still discussing it while they're waiting and anticipating for part 2. Anyways, that's the video, my dudes. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys aren't new and want to stay updated with more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @dashingdavid, at my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Give me a smile, give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while. Quit acting like a baby, or at least less like a child. Give me serenity, or at least just peace.